There's only one.
We're ready.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, April 13th meeting of the Winchester Select Board. I am the Chair, Anthea Brady, joined by Vice Chair Bill McGonigal, members Mike Betancourt, Michelle Pryor, Paris Bayani, and our Town Manager, Chris Senior. We will get started. We have a hearing at 7:45, so we will kick off. We'll do that first, and then we'll follow that with public comment. So if you are here for the hearing on the Eversource grant location at Robinson Park, you will have an opportunity to speak when that hearing opens up. If you're here for any other reason for comment, please hold your comments until public comment. So I will quickly do an acceptance of donations, but before we begin, I just want to address how we communicate as a board in these meetings. Since folks who are watching us don't know, our executive sessions tend to be particularly collegial, and maybe what you see in public sometimes, and we've all been guilty of this, but our conversation becomes heated to a point of discomfort. So I'd like to ask us to disagree with respect when we're communicating as a board. We don't all have the same opinions or background, but it can become a poor use of our time and doesn't necessarily reflect well on us when our discussions and our discourse turns to discord. So we do have a session on June 1st as a select board retreat that Chris has organized for us with a facilitator, and we have talked about some norms previously and can get into that at that time. But just appreciate if folks have that in the back of their heads as we get into topics later this evening and in future meetings that may not have full agreement from our board. So with that, I will turn it to any questions on that.
No, other than I agree to live up to your expectations the best I can. I agree not to disagree disrespectfully.
So, Bill, if you want to bring us to accepting donations?
Sure. I move that we accept with gratitude a EEC stabilization grant of $13,720 for the Recreation Department Kid Connection /RAP EEC childcare license for the month of April 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will bring up, we'll open up the hearing for the Eversource grant location for Robinson Park. So come on up, Matt and
Becky.
I was opening up the packet.
Jackie Duffy, Eversource would like to install approximately 39 feet of conduit in Robinson Park to provide electric service to number 9 Robinson Park.
Have your
Yeah, our only note was Robinson Park's under moratorium, so we did ask for a more extensive restoration, which they agreed to. Thanks.
great. Is anyone here for the public with questions or comments? Yeah,
Come on up.
Come on up just so you can get on microphone and introduce yourself and provide your address.
Hi there. Matt Starnes, the homeowner at 9 Robinson Park. Just here in support of the granted location and very appreciative.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Jackie or for Matt?
My usual question, Jackie, one day street opening, street closure, 1 day project, 2 day project?
It might be 2-day project since it's curb to curb.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so we will close our public hearing and then we'll take a vote.
I will move that the Select Board approve the Eversource grant of location for the installation of approximately 39 feet of conduit within the right-of-way in Robinson Park to provide electric service to 9 Robinson Park, subject to the conditions in the March 30th, 2026 memo from the town engineer.
All those in favor?
Aye. Hope it goes smoothly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next we'll move to public comment. So we invite members of the public to comment. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. So I'll do my best to time you and not interrupt if I can tell you if you are at the end of your comments. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Seamus Brady, 15 Clematis Street. Thank you all for having me to speak tonight. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the Morocco feasibility study. As you all know, that's an article that's coming up. The Select Board recently voted 3-2 to indefinitely postpone. So this will come up at town meeting. In all likelihood, it will come up. They will make that motion at some point. There will be some discussion. Depending on how that vote goes, it may come to you as a board to make a recommendation. I know that some of you have already given very clear support for this article in writing, and I thank you to those of you who have done that. I hope that you will consider this, consider the very small investment it is. As again, I believe all of you know, the payments would simply be on the interest. It's not the full amount of money that we would be paying. We would be paying simply the interest on this feasibility study. So compared to the money we have spent on many other things over many years in Winchester, this is a very small amount to get a process going for a new school for some of the individuals in this room who are here past their bedtimes. So I appreciate your listening, and I hope that when it comes time at town meeting, you will have a chance to have an opinion on the feasibility study, and I hope you will recommend that we move in favor of it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Can you ask that child to take the bottle cap out of his mouth? Thank you. And also just to clarify in your comments that it was the school committee who voted 3-2 to postpone the feasibility study and not the select board. Others? Hillary?
Hello. Hillary Eden, 5 Beaton Road. Perhaps building on my prior public comment, definitely want a new Morocco. Definitely feel like Morocco has been waiting for a long time. Also, if we're going to build new buildings, of which Morocco will be the last, there's no point building them if we don't have teachers to staff them and if we don't have curriculum to support the students. Also understand you guys are in an extremely hard place. Nobody wanted to be here. You guys unanimously voted for an override that unfortunately the residents did not pass, and now things have to be cut or revenue has to be found. Every constituent's going to have a different idea on what they think it's worth putting money towards or taking money from. As a parent of 2 school-age children, I'm here to say that when we think about things like paying extra fees on extracurriculars or paying, I think I heard a couple of quotes around like a dime a day or a dime a week on transfer station rates going up, those are costs I am eminently prepared to make if it means we get to save a teacher, 2 teachers, 3 teachers. Sitting at the school committee meeting last week, it's a very different thing to hear sort of like a sterile, depersonalized description of if the override doesn't pass, we may have to remove 35 FTEs, right? That doesn't really sound like what is going to happen. When you're looking at the list of the exact teachers at the exact schools, when you're looking at the possibility of every kindergarten classroom across all 5 schools losing their kindergarten aides, that's horrendous, right? You've got a lot of parents right now who are just starting to wake up and understand what that actually means, right? So when we're looking for places where we might find revenue, I understand, or maybe I don't understand, but I know the select board can't unanimously just sort of like take money from one pot and sort of put it in a different pot. But if I'm to understand correctly, and this is, sort of a question, if there were to be an affirmative vote to raise certain fees, right? That would make a change to the operating budget, and then town meeting, during spring town meeting, would have an opportunity to decide some of the things that extra money could go towards. Is that a correct statement?
We're not allowed to answer questions in public comment. You can just make comments.
Anything in our deliberation we'll talk about.
Okay, that sounds good. But anyway, I'll pay more for trash. I'll pay more for extracurriculars. Would really, really, really like to keep teachers and staff at our schools.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Anyone else with a comment?
Hey, everyone. Try to be quick. My name's George Nowell, and I'm a Winchester resident and local hauler. I'll try not to repeat anything that I had said at the last meeting. I'd like to address several points from tonight's memo. First, on the question of equity, the claim that residents are paying significantly more per ton than commercial haulers is based on a comparison that is mathematically correct but structurally incomplete. Residential users pay a flat fee that includes multiple waste streams, trash, recycling, food waste, but also other materials, while commercial haulers are charged per ton by material. However, the comparison divides the full residential fee by trash, recycling, and food waste. That is not an equivalent comparison. The math is straightforward. If revenue stays the same and more tons are included, the cost per ton decreases. For example, if you include a reasonable estimate of compost, approximately 600 tons, the calculated residential cost per ton drops meaningfully. That compost is not theoretical. Anyone who's been to the transfer station drives by it when they go in and they go out. There's a big mountain of leaves and compost. Again, what is included in the system directly impacts the outcome. I also want to clarify one point. While I appreciate Mass DEP's guidance was consulted, those benchmarks, particularly in pay-as-you-throw models, are focused on specific program structures and do not represent the full composition of municipal solid waste. By contrast, EPA benchmarks reflect a broader definition of municipal solid waste, including all municipal solid waste categories such as yard waste, bulky waste, and other non-trash streams. The distinction matters. Second, on revenue. An overall revenue and expense analysis is useful for understanding system performance, but it does not fully reflect how different waste streams are handled, accounted for, and ultimately translated into per-ton rates. User fees are intended to reflect the cost of providing the service, not to generate additional revenue. Based on the information presented, the transfer station is not currently operating a surplus-driven need for immediate adjustment, nor is a deficit projected in the near term. So the question becomes, what is the basis for accelerating additional transfer station fees at this time? What additional expenses occurred at the transfer station? Third, commitment and timing. Commercial rates were just increased approximately 4 months ago by 8.5%. Historically, rates are reviewed and set through a consistent annual process. Departing from that process, especially within a short time frame, creates uncertainty for both businesses and their customers. Fourth, on process. While I appreciate the effort that has gone into analyzing the system, including comparisons to other facilities, traveling distance, and even the impact on customer pricing, commercial haulers and businesses were not meaningfully included in that process. In fact, several contractors have recently just become aware of the scale of the proposed changes. These type of decisions benefit from direct input from those who operate within the system every day. I would also emphasize that factors such as market comparisons, travel distance, or willingness to pay may provide context, but they are not the basis for setting user fees. User fees must be tied to the cost of providing the service. Finally, going forward, I would encourage the town to clearly define and evaluate municipal waste as its own category. Municipal waste includes material from schools, public buildings, parks, and other town functions that benefit the entire community. If those costs are not clearly separated, they risk being unintentionally and unknowingly distributed across other user groups. I understand that broader financial pressures exist. However, if the transfer station fees are intended to reflect the cost of operating the facility, then any adjustment should be clearly tied to those costs, not external factors.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but we've gone over 3 minutes.
All right.
If you want it, you can submit your comments to Patty and she'll distribute them to us.
No problem. I just, at a minimum, I'd encourage a complete and consistent analysis. Thank you guys so much for your time. Sorry for running over. Thanks, George.
So we will close public comment if no one else is here for comment. And I will turn it to the town manager for his report.
There are a few, we have 2 new full-time police dispatchers last week. Nick Chacho and Mike Connors, they're actually coming up from part-time to full-time. I'm excited to have them on board. And we have a new part-time dispatcher, Joe Falso. So they're had a great conversation, and it actually fills up the staff, so they're all covered right now, which is kind of important. So that one would like the board's vote to waive 15-day waiting period.
I'll make the motion in just a second, Chris, but I noticed also in your report, you've started to detail all the positions that are being held open because of the hiring freeze. Just what distinguishes these from the other positions that we're not currently filling due to our operational?
These are critical public safety functions. Dispatch operates 24/7, so we can't miss a call. So it's literally the difference.
Okay, that's a perfect answer. So with that, I will move that we approve that we waive the 15-day waiting period for Nicholas Chiacho and Michael Connors, Police Department dispatchers, promotional full-time appointments, and Joseph Falso, Police Department dispatcher, part-time appointment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm continuing my interviews with the committees that the town manager historically appoints. I met with Bruce Hickey and Martha Hoyt this last week, had great conversations with both, and I'm proceeding with their reappointments. And I know that there is still some other openings, so if people want to apply, continue to apply. It's an open process. It's been great to interact with folks. I've really enjoyed that. Just so everyone's aware, I'm going to jump where the paving season started, unless Bob has a different update. It was theoretically starting today, and he's nodding his head. So it was theoretically starting today. So we're talking about Capri Terrace, Thornbury Road from Capri Terrace to Berkshire Drive, and Partridge Lane. So that's this week and paving next week. Okay, so just be aware of that. It's the first. This is the beginning of the paving season. Hopefully we'll have good weather and the prices will stay under control. So those are ongoing. And just to remind everybody, we still have the ongoing project behind us. As things heat up, we have some big fairs coming up. Remember that the parking behind here in the library lot will be out of at least until the fall. So just make arrangements. If that's a place you usually use, it's not going to be available, particularly as we get to the Enka Fair and Town Day and things of that sort. So just be aware. And for a little stretch, it'll be hard for town employees to park too, as I understand it, when we get up to some of these fairs. So
With regard to the Historical Commission, I know historically we, not pun intended, no pun intended, have not actually taken a vote on those. They are by, I think by MGL, Select Board confirmed, right? Is there a reason we don't vote on those?
No, those,
The town manager, Select Board confirmation.
The town manager appoints them, and he's just informing you guys that he appointed them, or reappointed them.
I know that's been our practice. My understanding is they are Select Board
Then
confirmed.
what we have to do is talk to Mariana, because I was always informed that it was the town manager's appointments.
this is all new to me. I'll be happy to check.
Thank you.
And that, if anyone has a question about anything else that's in there, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll just leave it as written.
As she's taking notes, I'll just read out loud so everyone hears it. When it comes to positions you're holding, there are 4 positions on hold with DPW, including building maintenance coordinator, maintenance skilled laborer, motor equipment specialist, and special equipment operator. You've put all summer seasonal positions on hold as well, Chris.
For just DPW.
Just for DPW, and you've put 3 current positions with the fire department on hold as all part of the hiring freeze.
Correct.
Okay, so that's 7 plus summer positions at DPW, all on hold right now and growing.
And growing.
All right, so we will move into the business section of our agenda. We're going to first talk transfer station fees. So Bob and Nick will join us. We have a few minutes to do a building fees update following that. And then we'll talk about the Human Rights Commission article, the FY27 budget, long-term process, and then at the end we'll talk about our article assignments and positions. So Bob and Nick, come on up.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome. Good evening. So we have an updated memo in our packet around transfer station fees. So Bob, maybe if you want to, or Bob, Nick, if you want to kick us off on what's changed there, what we're looking at. I know we asked some questions last meeting around the fees as they are, as well as the outside commercial hauler.
Bob, it's your memo. I'll let you kick off, and I'll jump in as needed.
I mean, there's not a lot we changed from the last memo. We added the tires, as Michelle had requested. The tires went from 10 to 15. The appliances went from 10 to 15. That was really the most of it. I mean, we were looking at the curbside pickup. I mean, those would just be a couple days a year. I don't see that being a big money maker for us. We're just trying to find a scenario where we're not losing money by bringing guys in to do it.
Sort of 62,500
Yeah, so
plus then number 4, which is the big one that we probably need to talk about longer.
correct. So yeah, the big one is the commercial rates.
Mm-hmm. And so I see that you've updated that chart for us, which is really helpful, both in having sort of estimated revenue from each of those, as well as providing some additional proposals and rate estimates. Is it, I know, we were talking about mattresses before and the change to recycling them. That was kind of like operating at a loss a little bit for residential mattresses and trying to build that up because of the cost of it. Can you just describe for us, like, what are the big cost drivers at the transfer station? Outside of trash comes in and trash needs to go out, but there's other pieces.
The biggest cost that we have is number 1, trash, number 2, recycling, and we're finding that mattress recycling is another huge cost as well. After that, staff expenses, managing the yard waste area, managing the brush pile are all kind of, I would say, in that descending order.
To follow up with that, because Chris, I think this is for you. Some of those staffing costs, we see a number associated with the operation of the transfer station every year, but am I correct that number doesn't include a lot of staffing costs, such as the retirement benefits or HR benefits or other things that are found in other line items of our budget, but are actual transfer station operating costs nonetheless?
The two biggest, Bill, actually the single biggest is employee benefits, right? Which tends to be health insurance and pension costs. And those are all I always use the term wrong.
Undistributed.
Undistributed, thank you. I keep wanting to call it unallocated. I'm sorry, it's undistributed. And there are some, there was a presentation made to the board in the fall, I understand, that gave like a bit of what it would have looked like. And that has to be refreshed for next fiscal year. And that encompasses, those costs. Do you want to just jump in
Sure,
on me?
yes. It encompasses employee benefits, energy for the station, administrative expenses. That's just the different employees, whether at town hall or my clerical staff that do work for the transfer station, garage repairs, labor, and materials, our tractor repairs, and then general insurance. So when we did this analysis in the fall, we came up with an indirect expense last year of $328,000.
And that's limited. You wouldn't see that in the actual transfer station budget, but it's real expenses.
Yeah.
And then capital.
Right, true.
Yeah.
And there are some capital costs that are kind of embedded, but some are not. And there's also, again, it also depends on how you want to define it. There's ongoing landfill maintenance costs that are theoretically covered by this. They're not necessarily in this budget here, right?
Right. I mean, we have an environmental line item that we do monitoring for the landfill itself, which is
I guess would be associated with the transfer station, but not the operation of the transfer station.
Right. I mean, so there are
The capping of a long-term.
And how you define this, I mean, as well, there's also, by the way, things like the long-term OPEB costs, things like that, which we have not allocated against departments, but the town is facing these real expenses.
Yeah, those are real costs.
Right. So it's important when you look at the actual line items and a budget, you have to realize there's a whole lot behind it too. And Bob just laid out some of it. You could go even deeper, and capital and the OPEB and other things. If those things are real.
Yeah, they are.
But again, you don't. So it's sometimes you can look and say, oh, you're making a profit. We're really never making a profit. And this is all about cost recovery. All of this ends up being cost recovery.
Yeah, thank you, Anthea. And I'm just going to jump on where Bill left off and Chris was saying. So I think we have to set the fees, and this was some good analysis, I think, that you sent us on Friday, in a way that is that cost recovery, right? It's not about generating surplus profit from any municipal asset. It's about being able to say that we broke even, right? Net of everything. And so I think that is going to, for me, guide how to think about number 4 at this time. And then there's also the question of equity with the municipal sticker. And so I think that would be very helpful to try to, and I know you were, you had told me don't expect a full set of numbers on Monday night, but to try to get, building on what Bob and Nick presented with that indirect charge, trying to, as though we were a business breaking even, putting all the costs in there, but not with any expectation of anything more than just recovering our expenses. So that would be the OPEB capital, and not just the capital for the big transfer station rebuild, but for example, at Springtime meeting last year, I think we bought a new, a new
Digester.
A digester?
A screener. A trommel screener?
Not the trommel screener, the digester, and there was something else. It was like a trailer, right?
There was a new trailer.
I remember
the trommel trailer, yeah.
The Capital showed us how
the transfer trailer.
rotted it was, and very interesting picture in front of town meeting.
I was in high school when we that last trailer was manufactured.
There you go. Right. So we do have ongoing capex. Is my point. Right. So I think we just have to take a view on all of the expenses. We need to then have an allocation to commercial versus residential, right? Because 42%, and we, your numbers are about that. 42% is commercial, and there's a 58% residential. And then from there, actually just build out what the cost methodology is, right? Like it should just be a rigorous piece of analysis. I know that wasn't going to be done over the weekend. So that would be where my mind is. I do think we need to ensure we are not subsidizing here, and I do believe we are. But I think that will guide for me what type of increase we would be looking at.
Other questions for Bob and Nick or thoughts on the proposal?
So, Nick, outside haulers, we have currently 2, 4? 2. Okay.
We were waiting for our new trailer to come online. There was some issues getting a plate for it. We recently got it I think a week and a half ago. So we're in the process of kind of onboarding some additional haulers right now. And with the kind of projection that will double to 2.5 the amount of revenue coming in from the initial pilot.
About how much was that?
65,000, 60,000, something like that.
So another 65, is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
65 plus is kind of what we're shooting for.
So I mean that would be like 130,000 between all the small items plus that, and then whatever proper fulsome cost recovery we can do. That to me is a thoughtful path forward.
Have you discussed with those 2 haulers the impact of any increase in the pricing?
No, because we haven't had any clarity of which direction we're going to go. So I've kind of given them what our current prices are and given them a heads up that they're only going up.
Did they express any hesitation when you told them that the prices might go up?
Well, yeah, I mean,
some of these are still very competitive with some of the other
transfer
stations that you.
But you never want to compete with an incinerator. because it's a race to the bottom. The larger vendor we're in talks with is going into incinerator now, but they're waiting 3 to 4 hours in line and dumping a ton and a half. So it's kind of that. It's an economics term that comes up quite a bit when we're talking about transfer station stuff. But the friction of distance, whether it's going to make sense for them to wait the 4 hours in line, and, what we can do to recover some of that time for them in place of money.
Yeah, time is money.
Yeah.
So I think, last time we seemed fairly in agreement around 1 through 3. You've added some of the tires and appliances to 2 on the charge for the bulky items.
I will say 3 will be a Herculean lift.
So that's good input, because I know that, when it went from separated recycling to doing single stream, that certainly increased recycling volumes quite a bit. So, one, is that a Herculean lift, and 2, is that going to create more trash because it's...
I don't think it'll create more trash, but so right now with the cardboard we're pulling out, there's no penalty if cardboard ends up in the recycling. If we're pulling out glass with the assumption that we're going to get a lower recycling processing rate because we're pulling out glass, that's under the assumption that we do a pretty good job at it.
Otherwise, we're going to get dinged by our...
Or it'll just go back up to the rate that we have now.
And
we won't see the savings.
Yeah.
Well, we won't see the full savings. We'll still see the tonnage savings pulling it out.
I guess to me, if this is where you're headed, Anthony, I don't know that it is. If we're in agreement on 1 and 2, plus, and I know Michelle had asked the question around commercial, continuing to add commercial haulers. I guess it's number 6, which doesn't actually exist, right? Right. Okay, all right, good. Just making sure I'm not missing. So do we advance those? Do we? Our Herculean lift for $20,000. I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Or we can make it optional and would have a $10,000 savings versus a
right.
So you pilot a glass.
Yep.
So do we do 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 6? Your fake 6, and then we pilot 3, and then we continue to ask town management for analysis on 4. But we move the other things forward tonight. I'd be good with that.
That sounds fine. But what would you say the Herculean lift for the glass? Is that just as far as getting people to actually do it? So
get them on board.
Okay. Because we had it for years, and so it seemed to work well.
Yeah.
And I know moving backwards is part of the difficult part.
Just pulling the cardboard out just kind of demonstrated that there's a resistance to separating recycling again.
Yep.
And to be
If we
clear,
only
I'm sorry. Do we make money on cardboard? Right. I mean, that is
Get rid of it at no cost.
all right. So there's a significant savings of pulling that out of the waste stream.
And it would kind of be the same with glass as well, that the value of the glass covers the transportation, and it's
And it's
Makes it
the
free.
heaviest thing for recycling, right?
Yeah.
Just throw your glass bottles in. Michelle, you had a question?
Sorry.
I don't know that I have a question. I think I have a thought kind of consistent with where Paris is going, but I don't have a question for Nick, so I can hold it.
I move that we adopt recommendations 1 and 2 and a voluntary version of number 3 in the memo presented by our director of DPW.
Second.
And the reason I'm going to just ask a question, I think, Michelle, the commercial haulers doesn't require any more changes, right? Because we've already authorized that program.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's just growing that. But we don't need to do anything for
Right.
that. Okay, great.
Nick,
when are we implementing these costs? Would just be my point of clarification. Is this a July 1st?
July 1, if we can.
As of July 1st.
Is that okay, Nick?
Yeah. I just want to make sure that it's not a tomorrow,
Okay, no.
which has happened before.
So, and just on 1, I mean, you can start that now.
We're working with Chris for the proper procurement of that we're not.
It's going to take us a little while to get
Yeah,
that done.
but you don't have to wait till July 1st to
Yeah,
do
we're
anything.
building the stockpile now, so it is something that we're working on, just we're not.
So there's a change in the fee on 2 and the process on. So, sorry, Pars, your motion was on 1 and 2?
Correct.
And a pilot of 3?
No, it was optional program for number 3.
Optional pilot of 3. Okay, any other questions or discussion?
The only thing I would say too is when we're looking at the commercial rates, if we kind of look at a target where we want to think we should be at a certain point over a period of years, it may be helpful that we start phasing in incrementally some of those costs, so we're not just dealing with it twice, in a year or whatever the situation is, or looking for a big jump all at once, just so it's predictable for the haulers and it's predictable for the residents to use that service as well. So that would be helpful. And this is a very good analysis. I appreciate you guys putting this together. It's helpful.
So we'll come back, we'll vote on Pars's motion.
Was there a second?
I second. With the friendly amendment that they be implemented by July 1st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sounded like you were going with 4, that we're asking for some more analysis on.
I have a
Indirects?
couple of questions on 4 as well, but I think it's indirects at least. Do you have more? I have 2 other questions on 4.
Indirects and capital were mine. I think yours were also indirects, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Questions were answered.
I think my question, it can be Bob, and then I think I want to kick it to Chris and Stacy, she gave me some information earlier. So where the question is mainly related to the capital fee. So the residential permit includes a $60 capital fee. 63? Yep. So I was rounding up for 60, so that's about $300,000 if we get to 5,000 permits. So 63, I'll note that in my math. And then the commercial and business paying 80 per.
There's 26 permits.
And 26 permits. So the question that I would have for both Nick and Bob is the capital work that we did. So right now the residents are subsidizing, like 96% of the debt service.
Right.
How much of that capital work at the transfer station benefits commercial, mixed use, outside haulers? Like scale house improvements, traffic improvements, license plate reader, I'm not sure if they're as tied to that as many, 600 trips a day on a slow day. But in looking at the overall $6 million investment, I think it was, to the transfer station? 6.2 million. How did that benefit everyone? Did that benefit residential much more so than commercial?
So when you kind of take a step back and look, I would say it's pretty equal. The commercial got their new commercial recycling area. I mean, they pay for the fees dumping there, but we kind of have an at-cost for commercial recycling. I don't want to make my margins on recycling. I'd rather make my margins on trash. So the fees that are paid for the commercial recycling aren't paying for that.
The cost of recycling.
Yeah, I mean, the pavement, everyone
drives on it.
The new electrical system, that we're not pulling power out of the old incinerator, benefits everyone.
Demolition of this incinerator.
Demolition of the incinerator.
Drainage work, yeah.
Is it fair to, that there were sort of generalized capital expenses for the most part? Yeah.
Of which $300,000 comes from residents and $4,100 comes from business. So if we're looking at changes to fees, I'd like to look at and if we carve out capital, it's the cost of paying for the capital improvement that everyone benefited from. I'm not sure I want to go per ton, but I certainly want to look at sort of talk about equity or spreading that capital cost across as many households as benefits. So if 5,000 people take their trash to the dump and 2,000 households have the private people take, there's 7,000 households getting their trash. Maybe not everybody has. Somebody might pull somebody from somewhere else, but 7,100 or so households live here, give or take 7,400. They all have trash. But right now, 5,000 households are paying $300,000 in debt service, and 52 businesses are paying $4,100 in capital. So if we're looking at making adjustments for equity, I want to be talking about capital and how that's getting paid for, because that's a long-term debt that we're all trying to pay off. And if there's a shift to be made, because everybody benefits, and that's a clearly articulated cost that we need to cover. That's not any made-up indirect overhead, no OPEB. That's straight up debt service. I want to look at maybe some models from you all or Chris on where that overall debt service, if it was spread across all of our households, where would that land in an equitable way?
I agree with everything Michelle just said. I would say there's that bonded debt from the capital, the transfer station rebuild, which is exactly what you're describing. And then there's ongoing capital work that we do out of our stabilization funds. Like
$150K a year.
$150K a year. And that should probably go into that indirect bucket. And I think that's the right, but I agree with everything you said. I would say that recurring CapEx too has to be included.
So, do we have a specific ask for town manager, DPW around this? It sounds like we would like clearer numbers on indirects for operating the transfer station, capital expenditures, as Paris just mentioned, and analysis of the capital fee as it's played out.
Yes. Yes, so I think to my vision is if we were to move something on commercial rates, it might be a movement on a per ton cost, which is option 4 in the memo, but it could also be a per household, per annual fee for capital. I mean, it's carved out specifically for our residents. Perhaps it should be carved out for our businesses. So it's X, because you use 1,000 households or 900 households come to the transfer station. Spread across 900 households, that could be pretty modest, but if my household of 4 is paying $63 and 26 permits are paying $80, I'd like to see if we had a spread, and we know what the cost is. Stacy has the table. It is about $300K in debt service. We're trying to break even on the debt service, but how would that look if distributed? And if we were to cut it up as, here's the per ton cost, and here's the capital fee, kind of like the water and sewer rate has a delivery fee, what would that fee be?
There are some communities that do put a trash fee on their water and sewer bills. That's how they collect it.
Now you're totally mixing metaphors on me, Bob, so.
I think our heads will explode if we try that.
I get your
I'm just
point.
saying that's how they get around.
But I'm just saying, there's a delivery fee, right? Right. There's getting through the door. There's potentially a fee for capital, right? To get through the door, to go have that license plate, to have the electricity. Then there's the throwing the stuff away.
The principle is that there is a subset of our, community that is bearing all of the cost of the CapEx.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that was just the quirk of how it was financed. It wasn't, us being malicious going after them.
Oh, no. No one's implying anything.
No one is saying that.
It's just a vote that was taken. When I was looking at this, it struck me that I'm just curious how much of that capital is coming from other businesses, non-households, and I have the details.
I think when Bob came on board, that was one of the first conversations I had with him, and he said, why was it done that way?
It just was.
It just was my answer. Yeah.
It doesn't have to stay that way.
I would like to get that data. There's data Michelle's asked for, Bill's asked for, I've asked for, and then I think from there we can have a conversation, and then to Mike's point with town manager, craft kind of a plan.
Yeah.
Craft a plan.
And I think the last thing I would say, go ahead, I can wait.
No.
The last thing I would say in looking at this overall transfer station sort of, operation, and looking at where are we losing money, where are we breaking even, where are we distributing those costs to break even, I understand we're looking at commercial rates, construction, mixed use, and construction waste. I also think that part of that the select board, and Nick's working on this right now, but part of the other thing, which is about breaking even with what we are now, the more external users, outside haulers we have, we still have excess capacity that we're licensed for. We're barely using half of our capacity. So we should look at this sort of, seasonally, annually. What's the cost that we need to, to basically break even? But if we had more outside haulers who are already charged a premium, they pay more than our local haulers do. If we had a way to get more capacity through that door, paid by other entities, not residents, not local businesses, outside entities, there's capacity that we are not getting reimbursed for.
Yep.
So I want to continue down that path too. I understand we want to make some changes potentially now, though I'd probably like to wait till the fall, but let's try to figure out ways to scale up that capacity without having semi-trucks, streaming down Swanton Street every day.
And I completely agree. And I think we were at 9,500 out of 25,000. And then we went up to 11,000. So we're not even halfway, even with as we've gone from 38% to 44%, not even 50.
So, and Mike, and then we'll wrap this up and move to the next.
Thank you, Anthea. No, I agree, Michelle. And I think that's why we wanted to do the pilot program to see the kind of neighborhood impact as well as the additional haulage. I think we haven't really felt any, right? At least that's been communicated from residents. And so,
and I'm trying to do this in a thoughtful way.
Right.
That
Absolutely.
That the impact to the neighborhood is understood, and the impact to the haulers as well. I'm going out of my way to get trucks that dump. Like, no one wants to be stuck behind a box truck hand unloading when, they can unload their trucks in under a minute.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say too on the kind of CapEx conversation is, when we're looking at sharing a portion of that debt service, it's not necessarily the way that I look at it, additional revenue, but maybe cost sharing with the residents towards that debt service. So maybe the residents' share of that would decrease rather than us having additional revenue as
Correct.
we're looking separately on the trans. Okay, just want to make sure.
I agree, because it might end up being that we have achieved a level of break even with that, how Chris described it to us, a bit of a margin, but we haven't achieved the equity objective. So we are actually bringing the residential permit down.
That's it. Yep.
That would be my hope.
Yeah.
So if we ask Chris, what he can do to bring this to our next meeting, is the select board comfortable with that? That's the meeting ahead of town meeting, so we won't have a lot of time for discussion. Given that
if
there's a
we're talking
pre-packed.
permits, we've got till the next calendar year. I don't think we're going to modify permits.
Well, no, I think we did.
Sorry,
Commercial rates.
commercial rates. So the indirects.
Bring the analysis we have. We'll just keep it a live conversation. That would be my view.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should maybe hold off on because there has been a lot of public engagement on the conversation. So our meetings before town meeting are usually off camera and kind of, not well attended. So maybe we vote on it later, even though we keep talking.
I agree. We should vote on. We should not vote on it at the principal's office at Winchester High School. I would agree with that for sure.
So
But we can keep the memo coming and just.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll keep that information coming, and then if we're voting, it'll be after town meeting in a 12-day session. All right.
Thank you both.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Building fees, Tom. Sorry we made you wait through that, because I know you're probably going to be pretty quick with your update.
Tom was fascinated by that conversation about the trash.
You
I was
got the easy
describing-
fee
I did.
conversation.
It's kind of like the Oscar the Grouch part of the session. I love trash part.
All right, so good evening. The last time that we met, which was only a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
the primary focus was on building permit fees. Since then, I had a chance to take a look at our electrical and plumbing fees and try to benchmark them against local communities, comparable communities, and I think we have an opportunity to raise those fees as well. Not nearly as much as the building permit fees, but still a bump and still stay compatible with local communities. I sent a new fee schedule, color-coded. So the only ones that we really need to discuss is, and I don't know if you want to go through each one of them. They're pretty moderate in the grand scheme of things.
They're all plumbing, gas, and
They're
electrical.
plumbing, gas, and electrical.
Yeah.
It's all plumbing and gas. Building fees are stable.
I'm willing to accept the recommendations of our building department head.
Yeah, I have a question, but others have. Go ahead.
I said a quick question. So, as you evaluated these in comparison to other communities as well, so we're, in the same range, for those fees?
We're in the middle.
We're in the middle. Okay.
We're in the middle. Some higher, some lower.
Okay. Perfect.
My only question is where we're shifting down. I think it's the new commercial structure per unit, where it's shifting down to 1 to 5 fixtures, and then $10 for each additional fixture. Was there any consideration on the changing the costs for the additional fixtures there from 10 to a higher number, or just doing the special permit?
There was, but some of these larger houses, like, we'll take the new residential, we have 30 or 40. If you start adding that fees up, and you got to remember that we're charging some of the plumbing and electrical fees in our building permit fees already. I think we tip the scales if we start to raise it much more than the $10 per.
Okay.
And I will make the motion that we approve and adopt the recommendation for revised electrical and plumbing permit fee structure as detailed in the memo from Tom Kennedy.
Second.
Just a friendly amendment, what would the effective date be of that? Because I think our initial fees were effective April 1.
They were.
Yeah,
May
the memo
1st.
says-
We can do tomorrow.
Yeah.
To May 1st.
Or we could do it, May 1st.
The memo says April 1st, 2026.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that
think you
was
can
our
retroactively
previous.
charge.
So I would just say keep that April 1st.
Okay, keep it at April.
Okay.
Can you retroactively charge people?
It wouldn't be worth the effort.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say don't try.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
So Rebecca, I saw you come on up. So we're going to have Rebecca here to talk about the Human Rights Commission article with us. We've talked about it before a bit. This is an article sponsored by the Select Board. Rebecca has been co-chairing the Human Rights Commission working group with me, and very kindly leading the meetings, because apparently it has been always a time when my household is in crisis.
I was you tonight, so I was all over the place, but here I am.
So I asked Rebecca if she could join us just to walk us through some of the work that's taken place, answer any questions, and also kind of serve for folks who are interested in this article or curious about this article to be able to see us talk about it a bit more on screen. You wanna
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
kick us off?
Yeah.
What we've been doing?
Sure, I will. And do I need to introduce myself again, or I don't know, I don't often speak, but I'll just say I'm Rebecca Sliz. I live at 2 Watson Place, and I'm also the executive director of the Network for Social Justice. And here, as Anthea said, as a member of the working group, the Human Rights Commission working group. And if I may, I'll just say for a brief second that the network celebrated its 35th anniversary on Saturday. We were established in 1991. And in preparation for this anniversary, we did some work to clarify our vision. And our vision statement is that we are working towards a world where we respect all people, engage across differences, and prioritize equity and justice. And I've only been sitting there for 10 minutes, but I heard the word equity a number of times. So that's our vision, our new vision. And a key point about it is that we cannot achieve this vision alone. We need partners and collaborators in all different arenas. So when I look at, for example, the Winchester Public Schools' new mission statement that they also worked on last year, there's a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities with what Winchester Public Schools is trying to achieve in their lane, what the network is trying to achieve in our role, and we need a town entity to be a partner. So that's, in a way, how I see, and I think how the working group has seen this Human Rights Commission. Just a little more history. So the network was, or network members, network board members were involved in creating and helping establish the human rights statement for the town of Winchester, which was first adopted in 2009, updated in 2012, and again in 2020, protecting rights and respecting people regardless of any facet of their identities. Most recently added country of origin and immigration status to our town human rights statement. And that was a select board approved statement in all those years. And so I think there's an opportunity for a Human Rights Commission to be one of the bodies that helps our town make that statement and those values that it embodies a reality. So fast forwarding to Fall Town Meeting 2025, the idea, Anthea introduced the idea of establishing a Human Rights Commission. We determined that it needed a working group, or it would be good to have a working group that met over the winter to bring a recommendation to spring town meeting. So there was a sort of an open call. There was an opportunity for people to join that working group. We had 7 members, so Anthea, myself, Karen Bolognese from the school committee, Hillary Turkowitz, Bob Davidson, Shreya Nair, these are residents or serving in resident capacity, and Mary Ellen Lannon from the town. So that was our group of 7. And we sort of divided the work, as I know you all do, divide your work, into a group that focused on duties of the commission and another group that focused more on composition of the commission. And we looked at what surrounding towns had in terms of both duties and commissioners and responsibilities. And I think it's worth noting, as we noted in the background for this article that will be included in the motion book, that almost all of the surrounding towns, or the towns that surround Winchester, have a Human Rights Commission. And they also have other entities that support human rights in their towns. So Stoneham, for example, has a Human Rights Committee, and they have Stoneham for Social Justice. So just to be very clear, the network is wholeheartedly supportive of this commission and see this as a necessary partnership. So I just wanted to add that. And really, I think the reason that I hope to come here tonight was to see what questions this group has, since this is a select board supported article, in some ways, enforcing a statement that is select board approved. So of course, we would want your support when we go to town meeting and present this article. So just wanted to surface any questions here so that we can either discuss them or address them and cover them in our presentation to the larger town meeting body. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's a really good historical and background and summary for us. It is Article 4 in the warrant, which we have. Michelle has a printed bound copy.
I mean, it came in the mail, so I thought I'd bring it. I look like the smart one. Oh, Mike brought his. There you go.
Mine has not arrived.
I have
Way thicker. That's just way thicker. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if we know this yet, but what is the frequency with which we expect the committee to meet as needed, quarterly?
We didn't establish that yet. I know some meet monthly. So I would say more on a schedule, like monthly or quarterly, as opposed to as needed.
Okay. And because that gets to my question under 4.6.3, the town manager or their designee shall ensure that minutes and records are kept for the commission. So is there an expectation of a recording secretary to be funded for this commission?
No, there's not a funding source. I think we have some other committees where we have that as well. Affordable Housing Trust, maybe, that also has that same distinction.
It's Otter AI. That's what the school committee uses.
That's fine, as long as Chris is good about minutes.
And just to, your question on,
Last meeting took the minutes.
on meeting,
So you'll ensure that they're done, not that
Right.
on meeting cadence, it has the commission shall at least biannually make a written report
Right.
to the select board and school committee, so you're getting.
Figure that's the outcome at
a
least.
regular-
Right. Definitely twice a year output. I was more
Twice a
concerned
year
about the meeting minute piece and making sure that has ownership, or if it needed a body, or maybe it just needs otter, which is good. And then consulting with MCAD on any matter within its jurisdiction. So it's your jurisdiction or MCAD's jurisdiction? Who's the its?
Yes, that is a good question.
it has to be the HRC. MCAT's just a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, because it, yes.
Or is it a state agency?
No, it's a state.
It is a state agency. It's definitely a state
Oh,
agency.
yeah, no, they have jurisdiction.
Because if it's the commission's, the Human Rights Commission's jurisdiction, what is the Human Rights Commission's jurisdiction? There's duties. And are we supposed to read that as jurisdiction, or is it the commission has a question that MCAD can answer?
Personally, I think if you have a thought, I mean, that last example I think was good. Like if the Human Rights Commission has a question, then it may consult the MCAD on that question. And if the language needs clarifying, we can, but this is an example that comes to my mind maybe to answer that question. So, for example, there's a Massachusetts Human Rights Coalition that is sort of a, if you will, a loose coalition of human rights organizations around the state, and representatives from various HRCs or the network attend these monthly meetings, and it's sort of a consulting opportunity, meaning if you have a challenge in your district, you can use that group as a resource. So I would more envision the Winchester HRC going to MCAD if it had something that it needed to resolve and was looking for a larger body.
Okay.
I think the way I read it is it would be the HRC's jurisdiction, because it's like just consult the state if you need help. I think technically it would say there. Not to reprise Springtown Meeting 25.
We will, we will have a
crisp answer for that
question down the road. That's a.
For town meeting down the road? Like, or really far down the road?
This is one that Jem and I would not have caught.
Yeah, if it was MCAD or the state agency's jurisdiction, I think its would have to say there grammatically.
That's a good point.
To encompass any of those.
So,
plural.
And yeah.
Then I would then wonder what the Human Rights Commission's jurisdiction is then.
Good follow-up question.
Okay. Well,
That
we're
is
gonna,
good. I mean,
we're
don't-
meeting on
yeah.
Wednesday, so we'll
Sure.
take
Okay.
that back.
And then the last question I have for you in your meeting then is then, if you jump down 2 paragraphs, commission shall monitor, so you have reviewing policies and programs brought forth by school committee and other bodies, but monitor the implementation and administration of such policies and evaluate their effectiveness. So how will you evaluate the effectiveness of a policy or a program?
So I think that we're talking about monitoring the
Bottom of 5.
the implementation and administration of such policies
Yes.
and programs, and evaluate their effectiveness of the Human Rights Committee's policies. Or I'm sorry, I
don't know.
Got a very small copy, so.
I think you're in the right paragraph. So it's like there's subcommittees and working groups, of which commissioners, the chair must be a commissioner. Working groups can have other people.
Yes.
The commission may expend at town meeting with appropriation funds appropriated for the purposes, and monitor the implementation of policies and programs. I'm not sure whose policies there
No,
are.
but it's read the first sentence
and
of 462. It's the Human Rights Commission would advocate for policies and programs to support the Winchester Human Rights Statement.
So, okay.
That's
So
what
it's
we-
kind of just far removed. And then, so I guess the still question is effectiveness? Like, what's the plan? And I know the next thing is we'll report twice a year, so on effectiveness. I'm just curious what the benchmarks are, what the yardsticks are.
Yeah, so That is a good question. And, I think that we are, there's, as you know very well, lots of ways to measure program effectiveness. So it's not just numbers of attendees, but it can also be changes in terms of mindsets or attitudes or things like that with respect to human rights. I think the other, if we're talking about a policy, I think that there's, and I don't have an example at the top of my head, but there are definitely data people here to say, like, for example, I was on a meeting earlier today that was talking about an equity report that had been produced in a neighboring town. And there were recommendations in the equity report. So, but it's not clear that any of those recommendations have been followed through. So I might use that as an example to say, if there were a report or we have to probably get some baseline data here on certain things to then say, let's establish where we are in certain areas. And if there are some recommendations, then the implementation would be, were those recommendations carried through or followed through on? That would be an example.
So that's great. So I think that's a great answer. So I think as the commission is adopting programs or policies, it maybe should be part of your standard operating procedure to establish benchmarks, right? Baseline data and benchmarks so that the programs are going to move the needle in certain ways. Maybe good for the motion or the presentation.
Can I just make that point in a broad way? Like, I think this is the motion and the article, like the WCCP had a similarly length, establishment bylaw effectively. But then there's a ton of work, like their first 6 months or year even, they just had to create a bunch of stuff, right, before they could really get going. And I feel like that is what you're going to have to do. I'm assuming you're on it, maybe you're not, but the group would need to do, right? They would just have Michelle's asking a lot of questions that have to be answered, and to me, that would be the first 6 months of the work.
Yeah, it's really like, dare I use the word implementation when you're asking a question about implementation, but it's like the actual implementation of the commission is not, the bylaw is not prescriptive on how the bits and pieces work. So that is something that then the commission, as it's being stood up, would say one of the things that we need to do as a commission is monitor these policies and understand effectiveness. What are our measures going to be to do that, or what are our processes going to be to make sure we have a measure to do that.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Other questions? Well, thank you, Rebecca, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rebecca.
We'll see you on the first night of town meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to vote favorable action on this while we have it? As a select board position?
Yeah.
I move that we
I'm just
vote
thinking it's
favorable
one less
action
thing.
on the Human Rights Commission bylaw, which is sponsored by the select board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let me just grab my, I know Patty's got it. I'm just also going to grab my sheet and write it down.
Nifty cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Derek, Stacy, you want to come on up?
Are we doing long term or that's afterwards?
We're going to, no, we're going to do the FY27 budget.
Yep, got it,
and then
sorry.
We'll talk about the long-term process. Siri has,
Anthea, what is this?
hang on one second.
Yeah, I was
Let me just
wondering.
write this down and then I'll get.
Well, I mean, apparently it's a school committee budget.
But like it's just, there's no context for why
Sorry,
it's here,
yeah,
and
we'll
it's
get there.
sort of impossible to read.
Okay, so what you have,
You had to be there.
correct, you did, that's why we have it in hard copy. This is a copy of,
Is this you?
No.
These are the notes you gave me over the phone. I typed them up for you. That's all.
okay, and then
I think
this
that's
from
needed. I wasn't even at the meeting.
schools is a
Doing it on-
copy of
I'm not presenting anything.
It's like a visual aid.
I'll just wait. Good.
Sorry.
I need
This
one.
from schools is a copy of the deck that the superintendent presented to them regarding budget on Thursday evening, so I wanted to make sure that everyone had a copy of that on hand because it was only presented on the screen just in terms of what they discussed in that meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Derek.
Hi.
I know you just came out of a FinCom meeting, so
did.
you might have like up to the minute updates, and then Chris, I know that you have some updates for us on some FY27 budget recommendations that you have made as well. And then thank you, Paris, for summarizing these notes from.
Yeah, to be clear,
Derek, so we have-
from a meeting I was not at. This is just me trying to give everyone a visual aid based on a phone call with Derek.
Some hard copies. So
Yeah,
Thank you.
Derek,
Because
if
it's
you
hard.
can-
It's easier to see it when Derek goes through it.
So Derek, if you want to walk us through here, and then Chris,
No,
you can
yeah.
jump in.
I just want to give an update along with Bill was there as well, and he can chime in. So, and just actually, I want to start with clearing up something because it was in the paper, kind of reported, I think, not accurately of what reflected where we are, which is, part of the state of the town, which is the fundamental foundation of what we did the budgeting. So we've been talking about parts of revenues and expenses now for many, many months. This isn't something just we're working on since the override failed. And so I think, all of you were involved in many aspects of this, along with FinCom, along with people from other committees. And so I just wanted out there that this isn't something that all of the groups have been working on just since a couple weeks ago. With that said, kind of where we are. I would say the lowest path to the use of free cash, and I use the word path meaning there are many things that need to happen. It's a path, it's not set in stone, and so it's still working, would be about $3 million of the use of free cash. However, that would entail the school budget going to the percent that was in the state of the town, which is at 3.8%, not the 5% that was approved last week. So we walked through similar to the things that we went through last week, which were increases to revenue, interest, potential things for the transfer station, fees, what have you, would increase revenues, roughly about $1 million to $1.2 million from what's in Chris's budget. Things, so Dr. Hackett and the school have done a lot of work and made a lot of cuts, which they shared to the parents last Thursday in that memo. So a lot of work has gone in that. The thing that we also looked into, which wasn't in maybe some of the state of the town or budgeting that we had been looking prior, was the impact of those reductions in terms of benefits, healthcare, and so forth, and what kind of savings versus the model that would bring. And then we mentioned last week some things in terms of reducing reserve funds. All in all, I said the lowest path is $3 million, but like I said, to get to that level, it's 3.8% for the state of the town school budget. That's what was discussed. The schools are using every lever they can and have, both to get to 5%, but also to see if there's anything that would, they would be able to do more if that was what is potentially required for the best of the town. No commitments, just, hey, we need to do some more work. The FinCom and the school board will meet on Thursday, and we were going to meet anyway, like we always do for the budget, but also to kind of discuss kind of where we are. And so I would keep it that simple. Billy, you can add anything else that maybe I missed.
Sure. I think the only details I'll add, so when it comes to fees, the schools are looking at everything. I know that's been a regular question. They're looking to raise transportation fees, athletic fees, music fees, early childhood services fees, and nutrition services fees. And right now, the plan that they have, which still has to be voted by the full committee, would raise maybe $500,000, and that's already been budgeted into their 5% budget target. And those fees would start with the new school year in September. To get under 5%, to try and get to that 3.8%, they need to find another $830,000 to $900,000 in cuts or money or whatever it might be. And though they're starting that work now, my understanding is, they're already looking at a 30 FTE cut just to get to 5%. To get to 3.8 is very likely to require more, maybe a good number more, if money can't be found somewhere else. And the risk of getting into classroom cuts is getting higher and higher. But that's just the reality. So they're doing their best.
Within that 5.8, and thank you, Bill, for quantifying the fee, sort of what they think the fee ceiling is on the school side, so it's 300 to 500K, so it's closer to 500K. To get to 5%, is there an expected use of circuit breaker in the current year budget for schools? I don't see that on this page, but is that part of the conversation?
Like I said, the schools are, I think, using everything to their ability. I don't know the exact number or how much of the circuit breakers.
Yeah.
Can we, if we try to walk down this page, because this is Derek, these are just on this second page there. This is what you shared with me, and I.
Yep. Yeah, I'd like to just answer Michelle's question directly.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, the answer is yes.
Yes.
They are considering circuit breaker.
It's the third row there.
In the amount that is being considered, they're trying to figure out how high they can go, but they still need to keep some sort of cushion there for the unexpected transfer in.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, and that's a big gamble for them, because one kid can swing that budget like a six-figure amount very easily. And if they put it all out there, it does open us up for more risk next year, and also the risk of that sort of unexpected cost spend coming in between now and whenever.
Okay.
But it's definitely part of the conversation. So
great.
I wanted to give you a direct yes on that.
Yeah, but just to walk through it, it's in two places. So if you walk straight down this, 6.8 minus the 950 is a slightly moving target, but that's minus 1.7 is how you get to the 5.1, and then Derek walked through the 1.2 of additional income, health insurance. That's the benefits of the 30 FTEs Bill mentioned. They no longer get benefits then. Finn, this is the Michelle. You had a question about this.
Yeah,
the 200 grand.
About that
I don't know if you want to answer what the 200 grand is, Derek.
Yeah, so
I made a mash of it last week.
We have a reserve of 400. 200 is half of that.
I think it's just the FinCom.
There is also, yeah, there. There's also, but it would have to be part of an article, which is every year we do 200,000 in terms of
strategic maintenance.
Strategic, which, yes, it's not a budgeting item, but it's another 100. If you cut that in half, that's 100. But anyway, this is kind of, again, a path walkthrough, but it implies, the difference between 5% and 3.8% is roughly $900,000, which is
so this again, is good. So it's a 950, right?
Yeah,
so it could. So you ask about the circuit breaker, and it could be. So there's circuit breaker to get to the 6.8 million of initial deficit that they're using to get to 5%, and then the question is to get to that 3.8%, which is another 950 of cut below the 5% to get to 3.8. Is that all cuts, or is that additional circuit breaker use?
So before we jump there, so staying on this page.
I don't want to stop the schools. Like I said, we left the meeting that they needed a few days to go through things. And so I'm not going to comment on what the schools are doing.
No, that's fine. I can wait to
so
hear.
I don't have those answers for you.
Additional, okay, so then 300K, carriage house 70K, and additional items from the town manager.
So,
insurance costs. So 70K is what we're paying on insurance for the carriage house every year.
Yes.
Once
Okay.
that's demolished, we don't have to insure it anymore.
No, that's not what we're paying. That was the Parkhurst, is about 70K. The carriage house is
less.
way less, yeah.
Parker's is 70.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's only like.
Oh, well.
In addition,
12K.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Well,
sorry.
that's what I was told. You know better. I stand corrected.
Hence I typed it.
Yeah.
Additional cuts of 300K. Again, in a budget of
130 million.
130 million.
Yeah.
There's other things to look at.
Chris can provide
I just don't
context.
want this to be a working meeting.
Well, I just, yeah, right. So I just wanted to know the top. So
Too late is
originally, when we talked about the immunity cuts, you were combining the again, undistributed, right? Is that the right
Correct.
terminology? And the muni cat in the 750, right?
Yes.
So the 400, is it above and beyond those?
The 300.
The 400 health insurance below is even above and beyond that.
So the 400 is reflected of the 35 plus heads, which roughly probably a little less than that, whatever the benefits related to the heads that have been reduced in the school budgets.
If you were counting that in your 750, you're
I was
double counting it.
I was counting some of that in the 750.
So now that
because
we have
that
more money.
So then more. Again, we're in real time working through this. Right. But
Yeah.
But it's not a big. We have 3 weeks here, right?
Right,
It's
that's
not a
right.
problem. I'm just saying we have more.
Where we are
money to find.
is a couple, again,
Yeah.
a couple hundred K of
As-
things to work for.
And this is a good FinCom Stacy question, but so there's health insurance we might not pay, there's Medicare, payroll tax we won't pay. Does our workers' comp go down if we have fewer people?
No.
Do any other insurances, or do we do anything else per head?
No.
Oh, well.
Unemployment will go up.
But
Yes.
I think, Chris, the first row of that 750, the health insurance row, which is even if it's school employees, the unallocated costs are per town manager. So you have to make sure those are net of each other, and then that 300 or whatever that thank you, that bottom row is. You just have to make sure they're all real and we're not double counting.
Yeah.
And that the 35 FTEs are based on where we've budgeted health insurance, because we only budgeted health insurance with 10 additional plans, 5 family, 5 individual. That didn't account for any additional FTEs they might have had in their 5% budget. So if this 35 is getting them down from their 8% to the 5%, then it's really not the savings that we think it is, if you see what I'm saying. It just depends on what they're cutting this 35 FTEs out of. Which budget are they cutting
Yeah,
it out of?
unfilled positions,
Well, I know
full-time
it's
benefit
not-
eligible
It's not
positions.
unallocated because the other costs you're describing are carried in unallocated, right?
No, what I mean by this is the reduction to health insurance. We just have to be cautious of where our health insurance budget actually is with enrollments, and if it included any
Oh, I see.
any additional teachers or school FTEs above what we've only budgeted, and now we're cutting 35 out of that, or are we cutting 35 out of their 8% ask? Like, I just want to make sure that we're cutting the right amount out
Good
of the right
FinCom
base.
question. And I think
like the FTE may not be.
Correct.
One
In 3 weeks,
FTE
we'll
is
have it
not.
ticked in time.
you're going to need it sooner than that. So I think because I watched the meeting, the Thursday meeting on WinCam, it was not in real time, but some of the cuts to get to 5.1 on the school side are unfilled positions.
Yeah.
So they don't have
So
health
they're not-
insurance.
Yeah, they're not in our.
That'll be important to know.
That's why we used less.
Yeah, okay.
So I used your 16,000 times.
Well, looking at all the math, it's like 160,000 per 10 FTEs because of the percentages, who's on our insurance, and which plan they're
how I got to
on.
the
Yeah.
400.
Yeah.
So I took your, that's
Yeah.
how it ties.
Okay.
Okay? Again, we'll circle back, but that was impetus of the 400,000.
And then, Chris, you had some proposed changes to the municipal budget that we're talking about that I think has been shared with FinCom to this point, but maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about those things, but I've met with 5 big departments to talk about reductions, and that's partially holding headcounts open and partially reducing expenses. The recreation subsidy being one of those to reduce. I mean, I've talked to Nick about that, so
Yes.
not to eliminate it, but just to reduce it. But I'm gonna share these too.
Giving you a week on the 750 before
Yes.
I came to ask for more.
Yeah, great, thanks.
I was allowing you to try to underpin that first.
But he's coming back to ask for more, clearly.
I can see that.
That's me right now. Just-
Again, at the current moment, again, there's no path to get any lower to this, and even to get to this requires the 3.8 that was in the state of the town. So just expectation setting to everyone, including, I shared this today with the FinCom.
Okay.
And some of these reductions on the school side for the FTEs, some of those are enrollment based as well, right? So some of them were planned. You don't have to, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
if you don't know, it's
I
a
think
good
I
question
heard
for the schools.
John's saying yes.
Yeah, John.
I
The answer is
watched
yes.
that
Okay.
on Thursday.
I think 12 or 13 out of the 33.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So 20 were not planned.
And FTEs, are they 2 part-time positions or are they full-time benefit eligible positions? That's another key number that we need.
I think if you go through this, it'll
Yeah, I've
very
never seen
painfully give you the answer.
I use roughly 21.
I did talk to the superintendent last week, and he's going to, as he's able to share more specifics about those positions so we can have a better analysis.
So, and those are what was proposed Thursday, but they haven't voted on.
Right.
Again,
So
I don't think
that
they're
said-
voting finally anytime soon. I think
Thursday.
Well, I think they're going to
So-
come back with more numbers. I don't.
So Derek alluded to something when he sat down here. There is a meeting Thursday that FinCom has, that school committee has, and they have asked if we are available to also notice a meeting at that same time, to have a meeting with as many members as possible in the room.
What time?
So to see if folks from this board are available Thursday from 6 to 7 to participate in that with FinCom and with schools, and then schools will roll into, as I understand it, I'm looking at John, roll into a meeting at 7 o'clock and do a public hearing on their budget.
so nice to have you all. Just, it's our meeting. So the word participation, it's really, we ask questions for the school to answer. Also, then kind of, I just want to set the expectations in an hour to answer those and go through the school budget. That's kind of the plan. It's kind of tight, so.
So it's FinCom's meeting that we can attend.
Yes.
Maybe we set up the owl or something at
Yes.
FinCom meetings so we can attend remotely if it's, you know.
Is it here?
We would need to notice it,
Yep.
so I want to.
Might as well.
Confirm.
I can't. I'm not a plane, so if only if 3 of you are
So
there.
it would be easier just to notice it when you come and you don't come, but at least it would be.
If you don't have a quorum,
I would.
don't do it. Or don't call.
So that's a conversation to try to land the plane on the where the school's budget is going to come in.
Yeah, well, the school, again, will communicate where they are. And from there, then ultimately, FinCom has to make a decision of what they put in for the school budget. I cannot make the school, that's not how it works. The school votes their own budget. So we hear where they are. And like I said, I don't feel the appetite, we haven't voted on it, but that the budget to be higher than 3.
Of free cash usage.
Yes, with all where we are.
Excluding one-time cost for literacy or including?
Just talking about the budget.
Operating budget.
Operating budget.
Recurring.
Yep. At the current moment, that's kind of where the committee is.
So there's not real appetite to go to the 4 range on the free cash?
For the operating budget, no.
Okay.
It'd be 3.6, 3.7.
Yep, I saw that, yep.
But, so.
Which is also what we.
Again, we haven't voted, but it's kind of where the current path.
Good to know.
What were you saying, Bill?
Yeah.
That's about what we were targeting with our advice back in January, was it?
Yes.
A $4 million free cash.
3 to
thing?
4.
Yeah,
3 to 4.
Yeah, so it's again, we're all in the ballpark, but the big gap is at 5%, it doesn't get there. But, and then besides that, I haven't found any.
At 5% schools budget growth,
Correct.
it doesn't
Yeah,
get there.
unless
So it
we
has-
can find money.
Because I think that extra 1.2% of the school's budget's about $900,000.
Yeah, so the 900,000, which was close to what's
3.9 in
in
free cash.
Chris's reduction.
3.9
Chris's
plus literacy,
budget
so 4.6.
also, right? Chris's budget at 5.1 had a 975K takedown of the school budget as well.
So I think that I'm going to speak to the select board colleagues for a moment, like, I think the challenge for us is going to be if there is a real spread of opinion on how much free cash to use between school committee and FinCom, as there has been in the past. And then we have to vote a position on an amendment. And I would prefer to have dialogue with both the finance committee and the school committee ahead of that, sitting on the floor of the auditorium and making a decision to burn another $1 million of free cash, and us having to vote a position on that without the benefit of a discussion with the school committee, or choosing not to do it without a benefit of the discussion with the finance committee is just to me not a great process. So to me, there's a world in which you guys agree. There's also a world in which there's going to be a spread view. Yeah. And I would want the select board to have real dialogue ahead of time, because I think that I wouldn't feel comfortable even making a decision. You'll put something on the yellow sheets. If there's not an agreement, school committee is going to have somebody ready to make an amendment. I've actually said that at their meeting. Mm-hmm. In that case, we're going to be asked to vote a position, and we're going to be doing that on the floor of town meeting. And I would not feel at that moment like I had sufficient information.
So we've been working, Patty sent out a poll a couple times to confirm that people are available, and that would be a meeting with the intent that the FinCom budget book is done, for us to get together, schools, select board, and then
okay.
Whoever.
That's beyond Thursday.
That would be the week of town meetings. If I
they're all work for me.
Reply to Patty and confirm if that works.
Maybe I'll just explain the simple reality of, not to give anyone's opinion, but and why we've always kind of landed on, during the course of the whole state of the town. If you have a deficit and then you add articles that take from free cash and you start getting into 6-7 million in terms of reducing free cash 2 years in a row, so then in 2028 it's the same, or to be honest, fall town meeting, spring, you're quickly at 10, we're at 21 million, you're quickly at that floor. This is nothing anyone knows, but just to give you,
Well, we voted unanimously at 3 to 4.
Yeah, that's kind of why the 3 to, I'm just saying for people why that number, what's so magical about it. That's kind of the math.
So I think, it's helpful to know that we anticipate a motion on the floor if FinCom doesn't agree.
If there's no agreement.
Right? And then it's helpful to know we're going to have a meeting after this meeting. I think, and to Parsons' point of, as an individual member, you say I wouldn't be comfortable making a position on an amendment. I think if the schools are going to have a motion on the floor to amend the budget and they want us to support it, then we should figure out what that motion is for, and we understand what it's for, right? And so whether that's
100%.
On that meeting that we're trying to get, or it's before town meeting, or we talk to FinCom, so to just say it's for a McCall scheduler, which a position that never even got filled was last year. We would need to understand that. And to Derek's point, if we said 3 to 4 million as the upper limit is like 4 million, if that motion on the floor goes above and beyond, I'm sure there's a story and a justification. I'd be interested to see sort of what it is, and will we get that information in time? And will that be the motion, or will it be that's one motion and then there's another motion? So understanding how that would land and what's behind it would be important for me.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just one clarity for
Derek,
me.
and then Mike.
Thank you.
You all, select board, were talking about, or agreed on 3 to 4 million. The FinCom, just so to be clear, is never
agreed.
Just
FinCom never took position on that.
Correct.
Mike, go ahead.
Thanks, Cynthia.
That's fair.
I think as part of this, conversation where we are now with the budget, we should also really try to. We've been working really well with the schools and with the finance committee, and amendments on the floor, I think, create kind of long-term problems for us, and what happens is those aren't included in the superintendent's original budget, which are the superintendent's recommendations for priorities, and then additional things get added in, and now we see those things get cut. So when we're adding on the floor of town meeting, especially not one-time expenses, like a curriculum, but we're adding additional ongoing FTEs, it really makes a problem for us in the future if we haven't planned for that, right? Because those are ongoing operating impacts, right? And so I hope that we can all agree to come to some sort of agreement that, or reach some solution for this where we're holding off on amendments on the floor. I think it's. I think it works well for certain things and not well for our long-term budgeting needs.
Yeah, during our meeting, we got lots of people with public comment today, and I articulated along with other members that, because there's always this kind of underlying theme that FinCom is always against things that the town wants. But in reality, it's back to this issue of it's very difficult where we are financially to be able to be supportive of all of these initiatives, not from a policy perspective, but like I mentioned, trying to land an operating budget and agreement without kind of understanding where all the warrant money might be approved, and that ultimately in this town, the appropriations body is the town meeting, not the finance committee. So again,
But this is exactly what I'm, just to be clear, select board is here with you as finance committee chair. The school committee's not here, right? At least not the leadership of it. If they are, Mike, to your point, it would be wonderful if we could all walk in aligned. That's option A for sure. Option B, though, I think I agree with that. Trying to react on the floor to an amendment that we haven't seen ahead of time and had a conversation about is really challenging. Right?
Yeah,
and that's Michelle's point too. Yeah.
So I think, when we sat down here and came to an agreement on like $3 to $3.5 million,
3 to 4.
I don't think the conversation we had was what that $3.5 million meant in terms of FTE and in terms of actual impacts in the classroom. So while I don't disagree that we talked about that number and we consider that number as what made sense in terms of our free cash usage and overall budget, I think when we look at it to say it's about 30, 33 FTE to get to their 5% budget and an additional like 15 to 20 FTE to get to their
3.8. No, I think it'd be like another 10. Yeah.
Whatever it may be, because here, different numbers, because it really depends on where those that come from, is that it's where the 30 FTE is coming from now is things, the 2.5 math specialists, it's kindergarten aides, it's things that are actually have like a pretty big impact, both in the early learning portion. The high school actually at this point in the 30 FTE is staying pretty much the same, right? I'm looking at John.
That might change.
Okay.
Do you want to have them join?
But so I just think that while we can consider kind of an agreement we made without hard numbers behind, hard numbers of actual impacts behind, to look at it in real time and see what that's doing is kind of a different direction of the conversation. And
it's kind of Miss Eaton's point during public comment.
So when it, I think when we're going to see what those actual impacts are, I think it could also have a different direction of the conversation in terms of free cash. Not that, we are going to need to do it year over year, but if you make that level of cuts that drastically, it's really hard to come back from in the future, and because you're just compounding both that and you're compounding issues with actual education.
Yeah. I think it's can I just say one point here? The page 35 of our magnus opus that we all signed page 3 of, right? Schools no override scenario. They showed 3.8% what that would be. This was burning $4 million of free cash. This is the analysis we did at the time. They showed 24 to 31 reductions. Now they're saying 33 to 36 reductions for 5%, meaning 3.8%, let's say that's another 8 to 10 positions, right? So they're saying 40 plus positions, and before they had said sort of 25 to 30, right? So that's the point you're making, that the same dollar number or percent increase number is translating to a much higher number of FTEs. I pointed this out today on the phone to the vice chair of the school committee, and she confirmed that that was correct, that the estimate of what the FTE impact is for the same dollar is larger than it was in February.
Bill, go ahead.
Well, that was half of what I was going to say. And then the other half is, I think that my understanding is that the superintendent is going to be trying to figure that out, what you just said, in terms of getting to 3.8 and this practical impact that's going to have, so people can understand what this free cash is for. And then with that is also just the complexity that FTEs, due to the contracts, the union requirements, the other legal requirements, it's near impossible for the schools to say, this is the person who we know is going to go. But we have to just take their best estimate for some of this stuff. So 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock tomorrow or Thursday at the high school.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock at the high school for.
At the high school?
Yep.
At where the school committee is meeting, because they have a meeting already scheduled that they'll then continue. And we'll
6
see
p.m.
if we can add a Zoom option for anyone who needs to call in. I know they broadcast that on WinCam, but if anyone needs to call in.
As part of what I heard from Derek too, it's really their meeting, and we wouldn't necessarily be participating, right? So, ideally,
yeah,
we're very good at that, sitting quietly.
Keep us off to the side, Derek. Keep us in the peanut gallery.
31 minutes for this that was scheduled for 30, so actually we're doing really good. Can I ask if there's any other comments on the budget at this point? Derek, thank you for coming. I know you were coming straight out of a meeting, so I'm sure it was fun to
Thank
do
you.
a second one. We'll see you on Thursday. So, Paris, I'll turn it to you. You sent us a memo on long-term budget process, so we...
Michelle and I.
Oh, you and Michelle. Sorry. Michelle, I'll turn it to you. Paris sent us a memo with you and Paris sent us a memo.
It's the follow-up. I'll turn over to Paris in a second, but it is the follow-up that we talked about last week, which is also as part of our sort of long-term financial planning state of the town process. Override or not, can we, we had a 5%, 4.25%, 4.25%. There was a question at the town meeting. Do you have that in writing? There was a question, how do we know we can commit to that? This is just an exercise to show some alternatives, what other towns have done, where their school rate is below 4% and the municipal rate's 3 to 3.5%. How do they get there? What levers do they use? What kind of diligent planning and circling back and constant communication and update? What kind of structure and discipline and rigor do they put to that process? So this memo outlines a couple of towns' examples, and we're just throwing it out for this group's consideration. That's how I would take it up. And take it away.
Yep, I think that's very, very well said, Michelle. We looked at a bunch of towns, and Shrewsbury is another one Michelle had looked at. But we could have written, a 12-page memo, but instead we focused on two, which are quite similar to each other, Arlington and Andover. And I think Chris said accurately, which I think we've all confirmed on our own, that Arlington really has the model process that a lot of people cite. Andover's town manager was the deputy town manager in Arlington, so it's not so surprised that they're reasonably similar in how they work. But there's basically three components to it. So first, they have a group. So we had State of the Town. They have versions, sort of permanent State of the Town. Arlington literally has a committee appointed by the town manager with the select board sort of support. They have a group that meets. It's got select board, school committee, FinCom, somebody from Capital. And that group meets all the time. They actually make the recommendation to the select board for what an override would be, as they did this year, which, as I think people know, passed overwhelmingly, one of the few in the area that has. And on Andover, which has not actually done an operating override, they made a big recommendation around their pension obligation bond, which is a way that they solved some of their budget issues. So that's a body that meets. And in both cases, very much driven by town manager. Arlington has more of a committee. Andover's is really more of a plan that's put together. It's a really well-designed plan. You can see the link to it, and that comes from the Office of Town Manager. The second piece is they agree, to Michelle's point, on a common model. So, and Arlington, at the time where they put the override on, actually puts together a one-pager called Select Board Commitments that has all those growth targets in them. But they agree on growth targets for municipal. It's in the first footnote, 3% in 3.25%. Sorry, in Arlington. Andover is 2.75. They agree on a growth target for schools. In Arlington, it's 4, and in Andover, it's 3.75. And then they have operating reserve targets, a bunch of stuff around health insurance, OPEB, et cetera. It's more complicated than just a number, but they have a lot of information in both of them. And then all three bodies sign it. So FinCom, School Committee, and Select Board all sign it. And that helps to guide not just their choices in any one year, which I'll get to in a minute, but also, for example, when people are negotiating collective bargaining agreements, when the Select Board is designing health insurance reimbursements, it just allows them to have those inputs so they can say, this is what we've got to work with, and it helps guide all of that. And then the final part is that's like the long-range committee and the long-range planning, and then how they commit to numbers. And then the third part is like, where does the rubber, it's kind of like the conversation we had with Derek, where does the rubber meet the road for that year's operating budget? Because then it has to go to the operating budget and actually be approved by their town meeting. And so they have a variety of ways of doing that. In Andover, they used to call it a tri-board. Now they call it a town and school budget meeting. So they have a process that they lay out. It's linked to here, where town manager presents to the select board, superintendent presents to the school committee. Both of them meet with FinCom. They make sure it meets the long-range model. Then they put it forward, and that occurs from February through March. Arlington's is similar. They call it the Budget and Revenue Task Force. So those three groups are meeting consistently from February to April before Finance Committee puts the articles in front of town meeting. And I give a little more highlight on Andover's process there. So, Chris, I know you have some experience with this. Sandy, who really perfected this, I think, is deputy town manager and then eventually town manager in Arlington, and Andrew in Andover, who was in Arlington for a few years. And so it sounds like you have some experience with it or could get some more insight on it. So.
Yeah, we did something. I mean, I've worked with Sandy. I work with, I know Andrew, and I work with Adam. So, and when we were doing some of the preliminary, before, even getting to the capital overrides that we did, we looked at what Arlington had done, and that said, Cohasset had a process when I got there, because they had gone through some challenging financial times that was similar to this. And they had an advisory committee, same concept as a little bit broader concept than a finance committee. They looked at the entire warrant, but it was regular meetings, and that for a while morphed into something more like your state of the town. We did that for a couple of years, some really deep dives into health insurance and what our indirects look like, and pension costs, and a whole host of things. And then we kind of moved back. So again, there were different times when there were different specifics needed. That said, the consistency was people talking in advance and having a revenue target that was established, that what the budget was built around. I know everyone likes to do wish budgets, but wish budgets are like, wishes. And we have to be built around reality. I mean, so one of the things that always frustrated me with some of the wish budget the school department in Cohasset would do would be like, well, that's great that you're having a conversation about what that would look like, but we don't have the money for that. So unless you want to push for an override, this is the target that we're in. But it was really important. It's helpful to have those conversations, and everyone's buying into them, right? And again, you have a timeline already, you have a clock already. So I think you have some established traditions for something like this, a little, maybe not quite as elaborate, but there's always this, I think, getting back to a more regular, consistent, school, town, finance committee meeting, getting those revenue targets set and looking at, what's going on out there is really important. So you reach the budget process with a path and guardrails. So I'm happy to chew on this a little bit more too, and come up and work with the two of you and obviously all five of you to come up with a process. When I say five, the other two committees too, school and finance.
I think if we had this, State of the Town was a massive lift, right? It was like right after Springtown meetings for almost a year. Right? We wrapped it up in January. It was a ton of work. This was one of the outcomes, or a suggested outcome, and Paris and I were talking. It was, override or no override. I think this was something we should do. We need to discuss if we all agree on that as a board, but I think it gives residents predictability, it gives visibility, it gives, okay, this is where we're going to be. We didn't get into the off-ramps because my colleague is the vice chair of Arlington's FinCom, so I first heard about this during State of the Town, called him, step me through the details. What happens when an expensive out-of-district tuition moves in? What happens when transportation costs go up for busing? What happens
Health
when
insurance comes in at 14%?
Right. They have these targets and they have off-ramps. So in that case, you can go up by 7% for that line item. In this case, the two sides will help figure it out from health insurance. So it might be 3.8, 4.2, 3% municipal, but it's not hard and fast. There are these break the glass off-ramps so that it isn't just, oh, well, too bad, so sad. You have to live with it. And I think that's important to note because I was, multiple ways when unexpected increases happen, when, both municipal and schools face health insurance, pressures. I think that's important to note. If we had something like this, tonight's meeting with Derek would have been FinCom and the Select Board and the School Committee all agree that's where we're going to be. Maybe that's where School Committee and FinCom will get to at the end of this week, but if we were all in the same room or going in getting to the same place, that would be great. And to be there on a consistent basis, I think builds trust with our residents. I think it helps justify, and we're going to ask for another override. That's a question of when. But even saying that we have commitments that we held ourselves accountable for for revenue and trying to bend some cost curves, the Select Board did, to understand what School Committee might commit to understand that Finance Committee will respect those decisions. We're all on the same page. I think it would be great if we could work as our board and with those boards to have a plan come together, shortly after Springtown meeting, so that if we have to work on it over the summer, but to start the school year or end the summer with written commitments would be great. And we can always revisit these. It can be Select Board policy. What would be 9 now? 10? How many were we up to at this point?
This will be number 8.
Okay, 8. But it would be useful, I think, to go through the exercise if we think there's support at the table. That's my pitch for why I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, thanks, Cynthia. I think it's a great idea. I mean, we have tried this somewhat unsuccessfully in the past. I think scheduling has been a big issue as well because you've got a lot of different very highly involved members of the schools, finance committee, our administration. So I think maybe two things. I think we talked about post override, if and when an override passes, the implementation side of it also, right? So it's this is what we promised you and this is what we're going to report that we did, right? So there's that piece of it on the back end, and then on the front end, hopefully this process, and if we're talking about the tri-board process here, hopefully that would take a little bit of the pressure off the State of the Town committee, so it wouldn't have to be such a heavy lift,
Yeah.
right? If that's
We
okay.
dissolve them anyway.
Yes. Well, they don't go away, but I mean, they're still
Right.
But the Arlington Long Range Planning Committee it just keeps going, and
Yeah.
so then they start with a model, and they have so then the Select Board can convene. Arlington does overrides programmatically, and every 4 years or so. But they kind of know, okay, we have 3 years left, we have 2 years left, we have 1, and this is the number. I will say, Mike, to your point about volunteers and coordinating them, especially that first step of the Long Range Planning Committee or Long Range Financial Plan, they're both quite town manager driven. So
Yeah.
I'll just share that because the
Chris.
volunteers are important, but if it's all volunteer driven, it doesn't last. It's too hard to get.
Right. Would be my hope, I think, for just structurally for it as well.
And that's the way it did work class. At the same time, there had to be a partnership, right? I can't. Everyone
For sure.
Right. Because we set this meeting, we did the structure, we did all the support, and we had some people who took targets. I said, I'm going to do this piece, I'm going to do this piece.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to hear me speak all the time. Or Stacy. We love Stacy, but she doesn't want to speak all the time.
I think driving the process.
Right. So, you'll be part of this.
So this, for example, in Andover, the school committee agrees on a number, but the town manager facilitates and drives the process. It is, when I talked to a staff member there and a school committee member, a select board member in Arlington, and I think you actually talked to Sandy directly, right? Yeah, and who's retired now. They're kind of like, well, just take schools as growth rate from your long range plan. Right, that's great, right? And like that's where we. And again, there's a reason that we pick these communities. Arlington has a lower mill rate than we do. It doesn't have the tax shift to commercial, and it's got 7 or 8% commercial. It's not as low as us, but it's not 25. And so they just passed an override with 72% of the vote. So my point is, these are some peers we can, I think, really learn from. It's not Wellesley that's got, just a giant budget and a bunch of commercial space, which is great, but like it's not that relevant to us. So.
I think this was also one of the big challenges we have when we have a beginning of January budget summit is that works with municipal budget.
Not for the schools.
But not for the schools, because the schools are like, well, we've had kids in school for a couple months, and our budget's due at the end of the month, so we're still working on it, and we create this artificial deadline for them. So I think it would be really helpful for just sort of to have these regular set meetings. From a purely operational procedural point, I think we can say we're going to schedule them and they're going to be bi-monthly on this date at this time, and then you have them scheduled and set and people are prepared to be there. And if it turns out that we've scheduled it for July and you can punt July and go to September, like you can do that, but you don't have to worry about spinning up a meeting just from a very operational point of getting everyone in the room. I think there's ways to facilitate that.
The 4 comments in favor, Bill. I don't know how you feel. Not to cold call you.
I'm supportive. I could talk for 10 minutes about why. I don't think I need to. So let's give the direction to the town manager that he needs and get it done.
Was there anything that you didn't hear from what we were talking about that you would want to add? Or no?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I would recommend we share. I did share as a heads up a copy of this with Derek and Tim, just so they.
That's what I was going to say.
I already just gave it to the 2 of them, but I think we should send it to the other, 18 people on those 2 bodies.
Yeah, everybody would be good.
I am happy to share it with them again and ask them to distribute it to their
full bodies
members.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think it's a good message going into Springtown meeting for Article 1 for the manager or the chair. I guess we'll see how things go this week, but still, even if everyone's not on the same page, but to even say this is the goal, I think is great. So yes, that was where I was going to go, Paris, was let's share this with FinCom and School Committee to say Select Board is moving forward with the manager to craft something, but that's good. That's progress.
And then we should make some, and then hopefully we can have a conversation where we get some choices, right? Do we want a long-range planning committee, the way that Arlington does, or just a plan that is held by staff that other people participate in and that it uses our actual board meetings, right? I hope everybody can agree. I mean, the school committee did agree to 4.25%. I hope we can keep that. I mean, that was a big shift, right? And I think that if we can agree that we are going to write in black ink certain spending target growths, which have off ramps, I think that's very beneficial. Right?
So why don't we target that for some discussion in June of our plan of what we want, and then sharing with schools and FinCom to confirm that they're on the same page or they have some changes, but
maybe I agree with that. Other side of town meeting. Yeah. So maybe if you would, I can either send them or you can. But just to say, if you guys can start to noodle on this, and then so we're not then sequential. So then if everybody can have their huddles in mid or late May, and then we can get back together in June.
The only thing I would ask, which is nothing about the timing, and for Chris and for Anthony to send it out to the board, the other boards, are there additional links that we can point them to or update this memo? I mean, we can start with the memo, but as we're saying noodle on this after town meeting, are there other places like deeper dive here, deeper dive there? I wonder if we can just have Chris, if people want to see what's behind that curtain, what else can we give, so that for the first meeting, whenever that is, if that's late June, the other boards and bodies have seen a little more detail. It's not a today thing. Let's tell them it's maybe coming, but let's think about where else can you go.
Because it was interesting, when I was researching around this some years ago, it was very opaque. It said Long Range Planning Committee. There was nothing else.
There is more.
There's more online
to
for
be-
Arlington.
Yes.
Andover posts all theirs online.
Yes. I don't think we need to update the memo. We can move on. But we should follow up soon with those details.
After 10 minutes.
Even before.
Oh, no, we shared this before.
I would share it before, so people start
We'll
seeing
share it, and then we'll
A more robust kind of
get some
appendix of information or something. Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the other thing is like these towns have been doing them for 10 and 20 years respectively. So some of it is like you change things and you iterate as you go forward.
Okay. Ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. So, last two items we have are what we've been talking about all night, which is town meeting. So we can do article assignments and then select board article positions, which will start tonight, knowing there's plenty of things. We might not have full scope of information on all of them. But we'll take up as much as we can there. This is where like I just start throwing paper around. For our articles, it is. Got it. 4, 7, 8, 15, 16, 24, 25, 28, and 45. Sounds like the number code in Lost.
Bingo.
4, 8, 12, 15, 27.
Powerball. Something. We have a winner.
We can wait for Chris to rejoin us just to kind of go through all of them.
Do you have any idea of which ones might be consent agenda?
We'll know that after tomorrow. I suspect.
None of ours.
No, I think.
Who knows?
Strategic maintenance, maybe?
Strategic maintenance and the Chapter 90.
Yeah, those are going to be proposed as consent.
Okay.
So that's
I'll present
20
those.
Look at you.
24 and I don't know what the other number is. Okay. Cars were just.
Hold that thought, Stacy, so as we go down. And we waited for you.
No, we waited for you.
We just signed them all to you.
We really should have. You step out of the room, you get all the work.
Stepping out of the room is dangerous.
So we are Article 1. I'll give a presentation on Article 1. Last town meeting, we had a couple things to include around state of the town. HRC, I don't think we have anything specific. So I will take Article 1. I will also take the Human Rights Commission, and I'll work with that working group on presenting that. Next up that we have is the local occupancy excise tax.
Happy to take that one.
Okay. I won't fight anyone for water and sewer, but I'm happy to just take it again because I'll preview the disaster of me trying to fix plumbing. Increase my water bill.
All yours.
All right.
Can you mention that we're researching a fourth tier in that?
15 is transferring to the general stabilization fund.
I'll take that.
Okay. 16 is solar panels. I'm looking at the two.
Do you want that one?
Do you want that one?
I'll take that, I guess, if it's up for grabs.
Somebody will want to present it with you, probably Tom.
Okay.
Or whoever they assign.
If you need slides from Lynch, I have them.
Yeah. If you just do all the slides and just give them to me, and then I'll present them.
Ken has all the detail, but if you want to
say Tom made a lot of slides.
Yeah,
No,
I will send you what we have, but you go right ahead.
Yep.
I do think AI is like planning to destroy us all, but
Yes.
there are some nifty side things.
Just a lot of volume
can use.
is my problem with AI. A lot of output.
So 24 is strategic maintenance. So Stacy, that's proposed for consent, right? Okay, so hopefully,
Bill.
We'll know tomorrow if Bill agrees.
that is, okay,
I think he was on the fence for that.
okay.
Huh.
Who agrees?
The moderator.
Phil.
25 is the
We
carriage
did the
house.
strategic maintenance last year. But Carriage House won't be us. That'll
will
be capital planning.
Capital and schools, okay.
Jumping down. Is next up 28?
Literacy, 28.
That's schools.
I'm happy to take that with schools.
Yep.
And then, so chapter 90, that should be proposed as consent, typically is
What number's out?
37.
37.
And EFPBC membership is 45. Do you want that one, Bill?
Sure, just tell me what to do. I don't.
I'm happy to brief you on it.
All right.
I plan on trying to do it as fast as I did the veterans one last year.
So everybody got one, I think.
That one. I have one.
All right.
You have 4 of them.
Well, right, at least
Sharing,
one, I
some
should
of those
say.
I'm sharing. So,
The chair's always going to get more than one, but
yeah.
spread it around.
Okay. Hey, that.
If you need help on water and sewer, let me know. 'Cause
I think that's the only one I'm confident I've got locked up.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to hand that
I've been
over.
planning this for.
Oh,
well,
she's got pictures.
You have Human Rights Commission too, which is a big one. You have your Article 1 presentation, and you have
Potentially literacy.
Those Human Rights Commission. I mean, would you invite Rebecca to present?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll take a burden off you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we should do with literacy too.
Correct.
Just like
Yeah.
here's the schools.
That's
you again.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Co-sponsor, right?
They're a co-sponsor.
I think we'd have to actually invite Rebecca up.
Yep. Okay, so now next is going through positions. But we can start at the top and get through kind of as much as we're comfortable voting on.
Yes, on all of our.
On all of ours.
Yeah, so if there was any question.
Move for a favorable position on all articles being sponsored by the select board, which I'm going to actually enunciate them. That's Articles 1, 4, 7, 8, 15, 16, which is joint with the school committee on solar panels, 24, which is joint with school committee and capital planning committee on strategic capital maintenance, 25, which is the carriage house with school committee and capital planning, 28, which is literacy with the school committee, 37, which is the chapter 90 authorization, 45, which is the EFPBC amendment, and then 46 to accept town meeting committee reports.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was easy. Thank you.
Good chunk.
All right. Okay, so Article 1 will be our report. We don't really need to take a position there.
Yeah.
Article 2 will be IP'd. Article 3 is the planning board report. We just took a position on Article 4. Article 5, or we took a position on Article 4 earlier, actually.
We did.
Article 5 is town meeting time.
Is this finally good? Or
This
have you
is-
done-
Yes on it, so.
Finally on the,
Do we know is this one going to be at the town manager's hearing on the warrant, or is the special town meeting committee expecting their own public hearing?
I would assume.
It doesn't change my position. I'm just saying if there's any questions that come out, you should probably invite whoever.
I'm going to invite everybody.
I don't know whoever worked on that, but they should come, if that's going to be the one hearing and people have questions, because this is the third town meeting.
Is that next week?
It's Wednesday.
April 22nd, is that correct? Is your hearing?
Yeah. Am I not seeing that, this is a draft of the warrant, I'm not seeing the proponents' names on here.
Special town meeting committee?
Yeah.
It's not
Oh,
in the
okay.
draft.
It's not on the draft of the motion book. Got it. But it is in the warrant.
I'm just looking at
Printed copy.
I'm just looking
Okay.
at the chart, so I could be wrong. I'm just reading my
I'm
shorthand.
just taking it from the table of contents that Jen's put through.
I believe everyone's doing their best on that one.
So any outstanding questions on that? Are we ready to take a position?
Are they producing any sort of report about exactly what they did beyond what's in the background here?
I don't know.
Okay. Or how they, followed up with the report that they gave us before fall town meeting. I guess I just want to hear town council's, quick summary about what they did, and that's all I need. But if you guys are ready to go ahead.
You can wait.
We can wait.
Yeah. We can, if you have questions, we can hold on it and vote it on next Monday.
The Monday before town meeting?
Yeah, in the meeting before town
I mean, and Bill, I think it's a fair question during the manager's hearing to ask whoever shows up to the manager's hearing if we'll get that presentation, right? 'Cause sometimes the manager's hearing tells you what you need to say to the full town meeting. So we can wait for sure, and then you can understand what they're going to present or if they're going to present or where you can read more. I think that makes sense. And let's make sure that question gets asked during the manager's hearing.
I'll move are we on 6? Sorry.
Yes, moving
Yes.
to 6 next.
Move that we accept article, that we vote for positive position.
Favorable action.
Positive.
That's why I'm the vice chair.
Second.
Okay.
My only question here is, why is it the Board of Health creating these permit fees and maybe not us?
It's in our bylaws.
It's their fees.
It is.
They control substance.
Ask the fee lady who looked at 300 fees. All right. Theirs are theirs.
This actually codifies that they can change the fees post the town meeting setting.
This is the problem. So yes, this gives them more flexibility because right now we have fees we can control like transfer station and Mass General Law has some, but camps is strictly them, and this is the only of the Board of Health fees that requires town meeting approval. So now we can actually change the bylaw to not require town meeting approval to give them full control over their fees because it's the only outlier of their 20-odd fees. It's the one that says must require town meeting vote. So this bylaw fixes that, and town meeting spends less time.
You should
voting
present
on
on
it.
this one.
I could. I've done a lot. Spend some time on it.
Now, is it Shannon?
It's gray, isn't it?
No.
No.
He is very happy.
Is it Anna?
Yeah, it's Ann.
Ann, yeah. I don't think they want me to present on that, but I can chime in.
Additional discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's a good candidate for consent agenda.
All right, 7 is ours.
Is that
The
what Phil?
9 prior
8
year
is
bills.
ours.
I don't think there aren't. Are there
It
no prior?
likely won't
There's no prior year bills?
be.
Nope, definitely postpone this consent.
Okay.
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 That was consent for which one we.
Sorry, Stacy, 9 is
Nine is
IP
consent.
or
9 is
consent?
IP.
IP. Okay.
10 is consent.
Parking initiative is 11.
What's parking issue?
That is the parking meter fund.
Sure.
No, all of them.
That's usually consent, isn't it? Parking meter?
Yep.
Consent, please. $8,000.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Do you still want a favorable action for that, Chris, or even if it's consent?
It's consent, though.
Whatever you normally do. If
We'll probably vote the consent agenda,
Yeah.
right, once we see it.
Yeah.
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 And that's what you'll do on the first
The night before, when we see what made it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we want to pull anything out, I guess. Can't imagine.
12's got to be consent, too, right?
So as much as we know is consent.
Well, we're trying to consent it, but there's some hefty numbers in that.
Okay.
That's current year budgets. Yeah,
Between
snow and
8,000
ice.
and 1,000 at this point.
Okay, I move that we vote favorable action on Article 12.
Say it.
Second.
On which one?
12.
12.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
13 and 14 are both IPs.
Okay.
Thank you, Stacy.
And 16.
What did 15, 16?
16 voted.
So 17 is capital planning?
17 is the capital planning report, so we'll let capital planning do their thing. 18,
That's consent.
It's capital closeouts?
Okay.
Nice.
And did you make a decision on 13? Is that going to be consent, the water sewer budget?
IP.
13
I think we
and
heard
14
IP.
are IP.
So we're in favor of that.
Okay, so 19, capital, ADA transition plan, MS4 permitting, and then the Everett drainage engineering. This is all these are capital.
How do we feel? Are we good with all of it, or?
You want to break them up? Or
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, just to deliberate for a moment.
Yeah.
I think during State of the Town, we had a discussion about ADA transition plan, and I think there's like 600. They have like 5 years of unspent money, 600.
That's quite a bit, yeah.
So I'm comfortable voting 2 and 3. I'd like to have a conversation with the capital planning committee about 1 personally, just to understand, is that obligated money, or do they have a plan to utilize it? Because it's not to say I don't want to put more money there. I just want to make sure that I think it was like $600,000 has a plan to be spent.
Like, for instance, to make the town hall ADA compliant.
Correct.
There might be a pot of money.
Especially given that if you look at the previous one we just endorsed, there's $500,000 of town hall and library repair turning back to the BSF.
Okay. So
On Article 18.
Move for favorable action on motions 2 and 3 of Article 19.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let me just capture this.
I think for motion 1, it'd just be helpful to understand from CPC what the plan there is. Sure.
Okay, so do you want us,
Do you want me to ask? Do you want to ask?
I'm not the rep. I think it's
you
Michelle.
are the rep
You
until
and
after
Michelle.
town meeting.
You're the rep.
That's why I'm asking.
So why don't you
I can have the backup then, but you can ask.
follow up with capital, and if you can copy Chris and I on it, and that way it can be distributed to us before town meeting.
Bill, I'll give you the account balances too, so you know.
Okay. Thank you, Stacy.
Okay. Article 20, rescinding borrowing. Consent.
You would never vote against that.
Okay, 21.
South Reservoir Dam.
Morocco repairs, will we ever be able to rescind that?
Don't get me started.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll follow up later.
Move for favorable action on Article 21.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Going back, I'm sorry, on 20, I know it's consent. What's the source of capital for these projects?
This is borrowing.
Borrowing against what?
Stabilization funds. It's, well, actually,
Doesn't say.
some had some free
We use free
cash for some of the,
one of these.
But this isn't an exclusion, is my point.
correct,
All right, that's fine.
not an exclusion, that's right.
So there could be, there was like, I just want to make sure it wasn't the Morocco culvert thing from last year all over, where we had like unused exclusion that we could do. What?
We still do.
No, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole nother story, not for right now.
No, this on Ambrose and McCall.
McCall repairs, not culvert, but yeah.
Okay, all right, fine.
All right.
I was just drawing an analogy to the culvert. I wasn't saying it's exactly, but anyway, all right, let's move on. 22.
Yeah.
All right, 20.
Town Hall.
22, Town Hall Library and roof repairs additional funding. I'm looking at the wrong one.
Move for favorable action on Article 22.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
As we're hitting 10 o'clock,
Yep.
Yeah, why don't we just finish through these capital through 25?
Okay.
Is that good?
So we're on the 23 now?
Yes.
Which is the
Town hall study.
move for favorable action on Article 23.
Second.
All those
You
in,
did the other two.
What?
You already did 24 and 25.
oh, perfect.
All right, great.
That's
That's the last one then.
All right, last one. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, do we have a consent tonight?
And I got
Yes,
word, by the way, on, sorry, just one last thing. I got word that EFPBC had voted to IP Article 26 this
That's the high
evening.
school concrete.
Yeah.
I think they already, that's in the motion book, I think.
I think it was expected, but they have sufficient costs to cover, and my understanding is they have sufficient costs to cover repairs for the center.
That's good news, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll pick up more of these in our meetings before town meeting 2 weeks from now, and take the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as published in our packet for today.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
In the packet, what's in the consent agenda?
One-day liquor license for Lauren Teeterman.
Yeah.
And Dia, we did want to
Yes.
take up Morocco to
Hour.
the feasibility study.
Not the warrant.
Because they were last year's numbers. So.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Wait,
Nope.
we,
So close.
sorry, we are, so we'll meet on Thursday with FinCom and School Committee. Please reply to Patty if you haven't on scheduling with FinCom and School Committee again during the week of town meeting around the budget. And then, I really don't anticipate we'll meet any earlier than 6 during the week of town meeting unless something comes up. Now we can motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
And Cam. You guys are like,
But I have it here.